Thank you. I'm Eric Hansen. I'm the city manager for the city of Mason, and we're going to try and get this program going. I hope we don't slip up too often because we're so privileged to be here today, and we're so, can you hear me? Okay, that's better. Excuse me, I'm still Eric Hansen. I am honored to be here. I attended the original dedication of the Veterans Memorial that was 20 years ago, and I'm so happy to still be serving the same community that was able to put that effort together and then 20 years later to expand it. It's kind of hard to believe, and I think many of you out there, I see many of you that were here at the original dedication, that 20 years have now gone by as of today. I want to, first of all, introduce John Looker. He's the former commander of the American Legion post in Mason, current Warren County Veterans Services Board member, and tireless advocate for the veterans community. John is going to join me at the podium here to post the colors. That'll be followed by Stormy Steinhauer performing the national anthem, and then Dr. Charles Daniels will give the invocation, followed by Marcia Giels, who will lead us in the pledge. John.
Sergeant of the Color Guard, please post the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all of the men and women who have served in our armed forces. We are grateful. We thank you for their dedication, discipline, faithfulness, and courage. From them, may we learn the virtues of selfless service, unswerving loyalty to the country, the discipline of teamwork for the good of all, obedience to authority in challenging situations. Bless the families of our veterans for the sacrifices made on the home front when duty called their loved ones away to serve. We pray that you will provide your care and healing power to our veterans who carry physical and mental wounds from their days of service. And we lift up to your care those families who have lost a member of our armed forces in the line of duty. May your constant presence and help be theirs forever. Amen.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You can be seated now. A particular ongoing stress of mine is, and especially at events like this, is leaving someone out. So bear with me, but there are several folks here special guests that would like to recognize. First of all, we have members of Mason City Council who host and sponsor this event. See, now I'm really stressed. I'm going to leave someone out. Mayor Spaeth, Vice Mayor Diana Nelson, Councilmember Josh Strickla, Mark Hackey, Councilmember Ashley Chance. We also have council members-elect in the front row here, Scott Gibson and Joy Bennett, that will be joining council next month. Councilmember Kathy Grossman called this morning to give me her regards, asked me to pass on to those. She did have a death in the family and is traveling to attend the funeral and make those arrangements, but she did wish to be here. Also, we have some former city council members, two of which, I'm looking for them now, Steve Osborne. Raise your hand, Steve. Shar Pelfrey back here, both of whom were here 20 years ago and served on the original committee for the Veterans Memorial. I also saw former Councilmember Jim Fox. There's Jim. Is there any other former council member that I've overlooked? The sun is shining right in our eyes, so we can barely see most of you. Also want to recognize, I mentioned I think the city is somewhat unique, especially a city our size. We have a Board of Veterans Affairs that consists of 3 council members, Councilmember Josh Strickla, Mark Hackey, and Vice Mayor Nelson, as well as John Looker, who you heard from and will hear from again, and Roger Herron. Very pleased with them and the work they've done. They spent the last 2 years putting together the new improved memorial. Some other special guests that we're privileged to have join us here. Senator Steve Wilson. There he is. I knew he was here. I didn't see him, but I trusted. Senator Wilson has been a particular friend of the city of Mason, as has Representative Adam Matthews. We also have Warren County Judge Gary Loxley. And I also saw, and I hope he's here, our school superintendent, Jonathan Cooper. Oh, there he is back there. Thank you for joining us for this event. I have one particular point of pride I'd like to speak on for a moment. The state of Ohio has what's called the Ohio Veterans Hall of Fame. It was created in 1992. It's intended to recognize the accomplishments of veterans who served in the military honorably and then continue to serve their communities through volunteerism, advocacy, professional distinction, public service, and philanthropy. Each year, the Ohio Veterans Hall of Fame's Executive Committee reviews nominations and selects up to 20 candidates. No more than 20 across the state of Ohio each year are entered into the Veterans Hall of Fame. This year's nominees were formally inducted into the Hall of Fame just this past Thursday on November 9th. The City of Mason, our Veterans Board of Affairs, and the community wish to extend our deep gratitude and appreciation that 2 of those 20 are our very own residents inducted to the Veterans Hall of Fame class of 2023. Mr. John Looker and Dr. Purcell Taylor, please stand. The City of Mason has 2 of the 20 members of the Veterans Hall of Fame. I want you to think about that for a moment. Across the state of Ohio, our community has 2 of them. I think that's both a statement to our community as well as to our veterans. In particular, Dr. Taylor and John Looker, we commend you for your continuing your work as advocates, both of our veterans. We're honored to have you as part of the Mason community. The city has purchased memorial bricks that will be placed in your honor and honor of your recognition in the memorial. Congratulations to both of you, and thank you. Next, it's my duty, and I'm a little scared of this as well, but to introduce our mayor, Barbara Spaeth. Not because of her, just because of my inadequacy. She's nice enough. Barbara was elected in November 2021 to her 3rd term on Mason City Council. Mayor Spaeth previously served on council from 2011 to 2019. She served as vice mayor from 2015 to 2019. She grew up in the village of Mason. She graduated from William Mason High School. She holds both a bachelor's and a master's degree in social work. She worked for 25 years as a social worker in domestic violence, child abuse, and neglect. She's trained foster and adoptive parents, worked as a caseworker with children in foster care, serving as a special needs adoption specialist and a victim's advocate. The mayor believes creating strong families is the core of a strong community, and I think Mason is a good testament to both her skills and her heart. With that, Mayor Spaeth. That's why I'm scared. She's a hugger.
Okay, you made me a little teary-eyed there, so that's not fair since I have to talk. But, oh gosh, is this not the most beautiful day? Thank God for this beautiful day. Oh my gosh, and thank God for all of you coming out here. I'm so excited to see such a big turnout. This is such a wonderful event. You got me worked up there. Okay. I want to say welcome to the 20th anniversary celebration of the Mason Veterans Memorial. The Mason Veterans Memorial was originally completed and dedicated on Saturday, November 8th, 2003. The development of the memorial began in 2001 with a group of Mason residents, city leaders, and veterans who formed the Veterans Memorial Committee. And I'm thinking there are probably many of you here that are in the audience today that were on that committee. At that time, Mason City Council pledged their support of the committee's efforts by providing the land, professional services for the memorial concept, infrastructure, and commitment to ongoing maintenance. The committee's fundraising efforts supported the various elements of the memorial, including the monument pieces, fountain, flame, flagpoles, and more. The thoughtful, respectful work of the committee will remain a legacy for our community in honoring those who have served to give us the freedoms we enjoy today. Many of those members of the Veterans Memorial Committee are with us and as we celebrate this memorial 20th anniversary. I ask if you are here to please stand and be acknowledged at this time because we want to thank you for your visionary work to honor our veterans. Do we have anyone in the audience? Please stand. All right. Thank you. At the original dedication event in 2003, we had over 1,000 people, including at least 150 veterans who attended the event. The late Neil Armstrong, a Korean War veteran and the first man to walk on the moon, was our guest of honor. I would like to ask for a moment of silence in honor of Mr. Neil Armstrong. Thank you. We have a very special guest with us today as we reflect upon the significance of the Mason Veterans Memorial and the role it has played in honoring our nation's veterans since 2003. Today, we are joined by Neil Armstrong's son, Rick. It felt fitting to honor Neil's legacy and the significant role he played in the original dedication in 2003. Rick and his brother Mark continue to carry on the legacy that their father left as a veteran, an astronaut, and an aerospace engineer. We are so honored to have you here with us today, Rick. The City of Mason has a special gift we would like to present to you to honor the role that the Armstrong family has played in the history of the Mason Veterans Memorial and its lasting legacy in the Mason community. So Rick, please come join me at the podium as we present this gift to you on behalf of the City of Mason, and we would also like for you to share a few words. Here on the behalf of the City of Mason, we have this, can everyone see that?
Thank you, Mayor Spade. Sorry. I was trying to decide whether I could do without the sunglasses or not. I'm right on the border. Thank you, Mayor Spade. It was a distinct honor for me to be here today commemorating the 20th anniversary of this wonderful memorial. As was said, my dad spoke at the opening ceremonies, and some of you obviously have been here because you stood up to say you were here. Hopefully the power won't go out on me the way in the middle of my remarks like it did on him. Mine are much shorter, so fingers crossed. You may or may not know that he flew 78 combat missions as part of Squadron VF-51 in the Korean War. So I think that gave him sufficient credibility to be the guest speaker at the grand opening. In his remarks, he talked about he talked about some revolutionary wartime history and the initial founding and settling of this area. And then moving forward in time to the first flights of the Wright brothers and the somewhat slow start of the use of aviation in the military and how it developed with increasing importance over time. He also praised the soldiers of today for their standard of excellence that our nation depends upon. One thing he didn't cover, though, was something I witnessed with him over the years, and that was how valuable the connection with his squadron mates was. He really enjoyed their various reunions, and I don't think he ever missed one. I remember hearing him tell me about how much fun they had sitting around and telling old stories. I wonder if any of those have changed at all over the years. In any event, I believe the veterans here today, they know exactly what these relationships mean and how important they are. This line from his remarks 20 years ago seems as much on point now as it was then. He said, "May this Veterans Memorial remind us all, and the generations to come, of the gallantry, courage, and sacrifices of those it honors." Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program today.
Thank you again, Rick. We appreciate it so much. We're so grateful that you took the time to join us here and are honored to have another member of the Armstrong family play a role in Mason's history. Since 2021, Mason's Board of Veterans Affairs, including Vice Mayor Nelson, Councilmember Hackey, Councilmember Stricula, Roger Herron, and John Looker, have been working on the renovations and improvement to the memorial in celebration of this 20th anniversary. And I know Eric already mentioned that, but I would just like for you all to briefly stand to be recognized. I don't know, Roger, oh, you're down there. Okay, yeah, if you all would just briefly stand, because these guys have really worked hard for like 2 years now to make this thing so beautiful out here, make our memorial so beautiful. Thank you. I'm excited to see the changes and some of the new additions to this community landmark. But today, as we celebrate this special occasion, I ask that we all reflect on what this memorial truly represents to our community veterans and their families. The Mason Veterans Memorial is a touchstone that links our past to the present and enables people to remember and respect the sacrifice of those who died, fought, participated, or were affected by conflict. We don't erect memorials for ourselves. We erect them as visible, respectful reminders of those who performed great deeds, and for our generation now and those that will follow who have not experienced the horror of conflict. I want to thank the Mason Board of Veterans Affairs for their efforts in enhancing this incredible reflection of Mason's ongoing commitment to Mason's legacy, for honoring our veterans and their families. I want to now introduce one of my fellow colleagues on City Council and Board of Veterans Affairs member Josh Stricula to the podium as he introduces some of the exciting improvements and enhancements we have to unveil today. Thank you all so much.
Welcome everyone to today's event. Thank you so much for being here. When I was mentioned or told by Mr. Hanson that I would have an opportunity to say a few words, I said, well, I'll come up with a few things. And by the time I got home, I had an email saying, hey, here's what we want you to say, stick to the script. I took the hint, Mr. Hanson, I'll stick to the script. Special thanks to all the veterans that are in attendance and those who are not able to be with us. Their sacrifice allows me to stand here today before you. As a veteran, I'm honored to be able to serve on the Mason's Board of Veterans Affairs and to be a part of this very special project that is dear to my heart. For 20 years, our memorial has served to remind our community of the selfless service of some of our family, friends, and neighbors. The monument stones that represent the branches of service, pillars that acknowledge wars that have been fought, and those that have died. The wall of tears, external flame, and benches that were original to and remain part of the memorial were deliberate, intentional acts by the Veterans Committee in 2003 to create a place for education, reflection, and honor. For over a year, my fellow committee members and I have been working on improvements and additions to the memorial and the celebration of this event. Some of those improvements include new electrical conduit and lighting. Each individual center war pillar and flags received new lighting and has been added to the internal perimeter of the memorial that can be programmed to change colors and promote different occasions, patriotic occasions. Landscaping, thank you to Lichtenberg Landscaping for all the new trees, bushes, perennials, and annuals. The monument stones have been repainted to enhance the white lettering on each stone. The wall of tears has been cleaned and polished with special protectant. And memorial bricks have all been engraved and replaced. And new this year to the memorial is a Space Force monument stone and flag. The U.S. Space Force was established on December 20th, 2019, when the National Defense Authorization Act was signed into law, creating the first new branch of the armed services since 1947. So thank you to Jim Smith with Laser Imaging for your inspirational work on the new monument stones and throughout the memorial. Last year, as part of our work to improve the memorial, we added a Never Forget garden near the walkway. Thank you to Judy Pearson for her work to initiate this wonderful addition to the memorial. Judy is Ohio's ambassador for the Military Women's Memorial in Washington, D.C., our only major national monument dedicated to honoring women who have served. It is at the ceremonial entrance to Arlington National Cemetery. Judy Pearson served 22 years as an Air Force nurse, where she met her husband Bob, who served in the Air Force pilot, or as an Air Force pilot, excuse me, for over 20 years. I would now like to introduce Mason resident, retired Colonel Judy Pearson, to talk about the Never Forget at the memorial.
All right, can you hear me? All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for the plug for the Military Women's Memorial. Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council, and my fellow citizens. In 1921, 102 years ago today, America interred its unknown soldier in Arlington National Cemetery. In 2021, as an effort to honor that date, the honor guards of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier encourage communities across the country, private homes, to plant a Never Forget garden consisting of red, white, and blue flowers. Our community of Mason immediately embraced that idea and incorporated our Never Forget garden into our Veterans Memorial. And sitting above the garden is a plaque that was designed by the honor guards to commemorate that special occasion. Today, we are rededicating that space with one very special addition. Thank you, Steve Lichtenberg, for doing this. In October of 1921, Sergeant Edward Younger was an American soldier serving in France, and he was given the very sacred honor of choosing our unknown soldier. He was given a bouquet of white roses and asked to place that bouquet on one of 4 identical coffins. Each coffin contained the remains of an unidentified American soldier. And the one that he chose would represent all who had fallen in World War I. The white roses were donated by a French family of prominent rose growers who had lost 2 sons in the war. The roses were a gift to America from that family. White roses have now been incorporated into our Never Forget garden. And the name of that rose is the Never Forget Rose. It was developed especially for the centennial by the current generation of the same family of French rose growers who donated those original roses. Again, it is their gift to America. So today, as you walk through this memorial, I would guess that's the warbirds. I encourage you today, as you walk through this memorial, to stop and read the plaque that sits over this special space. And never forget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Thanks for your dedication and support for local veterans and for advancing the mission of the Mason Veterans Memorial. And thank you to everyone who's here. Thank you to everyone for joining us this morning. I just want to make sure it's still morning. Yes, it is. All right. As a fellow veteran, it's a privilege for me to serve on the city's Board of Veterans Affairs and to be part of Mason's continuous commitment to honor our nation's veterans and active military. We're very fortunate to be able to provide a destination in our community where veterans, their family members, or any member of the community can come to pay their respects and to reflect on the sacrifices that military members have made to protect our freedoms. We're also fortunate to be able to provide members of the community the opportunity to leave a lasting legacy within the memorial through the commemorative brick program. Within the memorial near the base of the wall that depicts the 6 branches of the military, there's a designated space for bricks to honor our nation's veterans. We're proud to say that the Mason Veterans Memorial is home to over 1,200 commemorative bricks to honor our military heroes. In addition to honoring military service members, the commemorative brick program also lends an opportunity to non-military community members Are they coming over again? All right. It also lends an opportunity to non-military community members and families to show patriotism and support for our veterans. The walkways leading up to the memorial feature bricks purchased by individuals and families throughout the last 20 years since the memorial's original dedication. We thank those who have supported the memorial throughout the years by purchasing a commemorative brick and look forward to continued participation in the program. The enhancements that took place throughout 2023 provided the city the opportunity to completely refresh the commemorative brick space, and you will find as you explore the memorial today They must have heard what time I was speaking. The enhancements that took place throughout 2023 provided the city the opportunity to completely refresh the commemorative brick space, and you'll find as you explore the memorial today that new bricks were engraved and installed as part of the improvements. We encourage you all to download the Mason Veterans Memorial app on your phone, as it's designed to help the public locate their commemorative brick within the memorial. Another enhancement that we're honored to unveil today is the addition of the Purple Heart Memorial. The Purple Heart is presented to service members who have been wounded or killed as a result of any enemy action while serving in the U.S. military. A Purple Heart is a solemn distinction and symbol of sacrifice. We're honored to have representatives of the Military Order of the Purple Heart here with us this morning at the ceremony. We thank you for your service and for your continued efforts to provide assistance to combat wounded veterans. The City of Mason is proud to be designated as a Purple Heart City. The addition of a Purple Heart Memorial will serve as a tribute to Purple Heart recipients and the sacrifices they made in their service to our nation. The Purple Heart Memorial was generously donated by the Schlutker family. Thank you, Wayne and Jane Schlutker, who are here with us today. Do I see them? Ah, there you are. Thank you so much for your donation. Yeah, thank you for providing the City of Mason the opportunity to further our mission to honor and recognize Purple Heart recipients. Your generosity and kindness is greatly appreciated. The city would also like to express its thanks to Tony Cole, a member of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, who sponsored Mason's Purple Heart Memorial. Thank you to both the Schlutker family and the Military Order of the Purple Heart for this wonderful addition that furthers the city's mission of honoring veterans. And yes, like Councilmember Stricula, I was provided a script, and I'm going to go off script for just 1 second if you'll indulge me, which you will because I've got the microphone. You know, we standing up here get a lot of credit, but the real credit goes to a lot of other people. City Manager Eric Hansen, our Assistant City Manager Jennifer Heft, Jenna, Steve, a lot of other people did a lot of work to make this happen. There was even a day when all of these people from the top down were out here organizing bricks in the right order. So they deserve a quick round of applause. So with that, I would now like to invite my fellow board member and friend, John Looker, to the podium to share a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the recognition. I'd like to call up to the podium with me Roger Herron. Roger has been one of the board members for a long time, and he had a 3-page speech he wanted to give. And I told him, Roger, you can't do that. There's not enough time to do that. So he chose not to speak at all. Roger's been the commander of the Disabled American Veterans for 20 years, Roger, at least. And I serve on that committee also as finance officer, secretary, advocate to the group. So Roger has been instrumental in helping out here. One of the things that I mentioned to Rick this morning was during his father's speech. The thing that sticks with me the most is when he spoke, he said there's only 2 things you can see from space. One of them is the Great Wall of China. The second one is the Mason Memorial. With that, I'd like to announce all the 12 that were killed in action during that time. If there are any family members of those 12, would you please stand and be recognized? The first one I have is Luther Lee O'Banion, private, U.S. Marine Corps, killed in action June 8th, 1918 in France during World War I. The second one I have is Ralph S. Penquite, PFC, U.S. Army, died September 30th, 1918 in France during World War II. The next is Paul Brewster, PFC, U.S. Army, died October 22nd, 1941 in the USA during World War II. Next one is Fred G. Snell, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army, Air Corps, killed in action May 29th, 1943 in France during World War II. Next is Eugene Case, private, U.S. Army, killed in action November 19th, 1944 in Germany during World War II. Next, Clifford McCurley. Dick. Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army, Air Corps, killed in action February 6th, 1945 during World War II. Thank you, Dick. Robert Mount, Second Lieutenant in the U.S. Army Air Corps, killed in action February 17th, 1945 in Germany during World War II. Kenneth E. Glacken, Corporal, U.S. Marine Corps, killed in action March 6th in Hiroshima during World War II. Richard Runyon, PFC, U.S. Army, killed in action May 18th, 1945 during World War II. These next two, I have a problem. I'm probably going to break down here for too long. Teddy Middleton, Corporal, U.S. Army, killed in action July 15th, 1969. Martin S. Gruber. Chief. Specialist 4, U.S. Army, killed in action August 8, 1968, during the Vietnam War. Jonathan Cam, Sergeant, U.S. Army, killed in action February 27, 1991, during Operation Desert Storm. If I could please have you give a moment of silence to those 12 men from our Mason community who were killed in action. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. I guess I got another page here. And I did have another page, but I didn't get to it. I'm sorry. I'd like to thank the board members, Board Affairs board members, the Vice Mayor, for the city, Diana Nelson. Please come to the podium.
Thank you, John, for your continued advocacy and passion for our veteran community. We would like to take a moment this morning to recognize those here with us today who are mourning the loss of a loved one who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our freedoms here in America. Gold Star families serve as a powerful reminder that no one has given more for this nation than families of the fallen heroes. Heroes that were fathers, mothers, siblings, children, and loved ones. Being a Gold Star family is an honor that nobody wants. The pain these families endure is something that they will carry with them forever. Gold Star families are a vital part of our country's military community and history. We would like to take a moment to recognize the Gold Star families that have joined us here today. We are forever indebted to you for your family's sacrifice. Thank you. Will never be enough. I'd like to ask the audience to please stand silently for a moment of reflection and respect for these families. You may be seated. Today, in honor of the families who experienced the loss of a loved one, we unveil the Gold Star Families Memorial. We hope the audience is moved today by the profound images and words on the memorial that attempt to embody what it means to be a Gold Star family. The memorial will serve not only as a reminder, the memorial will serve not only as a tribute to the sacrifices endured by Gold Star family members, but a somber reminder that freedom is not free. At the base of the Gold Star Memorial, you will find 12 engraved stones that honor the veterans from Mason who tragically lost their lives during service to our country. The Gold Star Family Stone Program provides the opportunity to honor the fallen and pay respects to those soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice. Next, I have the honor of introducing our guest speaker, Shiloh Harris. Shiloh is a U.S. Army veteran who served 2 deployments in the 10th Mountain Division as part of the U.S. war on Iraq. On February 19, 2007, during his second deployment in Baghdad, Shiloh's armed vehicle was struck by an explosive device. The explosion injured the driver and tragically ended the lives of 3 of his fellow soldiers. Shiloh survived with severe third-degree burns over 35% of his body, which resulted in a loss of Shiloh's ears, most of his nose, and 3 of his fingers. The crushing explosion fractured his left collarbone and C7 vertebrae and damaged his lungs. In addition to his physical injuries, Shiloh endured significant mental and emotional trauma. Shiloh's story of what he has overcome and his outlook on life despite his experiences is truly inspiring. We are so honored to have him here with us on Veterans Day to share this message. Please give a warm welcome to our guest, Shiloh Harris.
Thank you all very, very much. I feel like I'm home. I know so many people here in the audience, and I almost feel like Mason's become a second home to me in this whole area. You know, I mean, so thank you very much for that very warm welcome. And I want to say again, thank you to our color guard. You know, them jump into action the way that they did. I was over here kind of joking. I'm like, that's the 5-second rule, right? You know what I mean? They jumped in, grabbed the flags real quick. So thank you very much, Honor Guard. Thank you guys for what you did. Yeah. As I'm looking around the audience, I see that there are so many veterans here. We've got active duty service members, our first responders, which ironically are usually veterans themselves. So thank you so much for our first responders being here. And we didn't know that we was going to get this air show, did we? That worked out well. As I kept asking, well, did y'all order this? I was like, man, it's great, but maybe it's a little loud, you know. So, but it worked out really good. So before we get started, I just want you to know that some of the things that I say might be a little funny. It's okay to laugh. Although, you know, we've had some solemn moments, this is a celebration. This is a celebration of life. This is a celebration of the city of Mason to recognize our veteran sacrifices. So thank you again for the city of Mason. I joined the military after 9/11, 2001, and I know that many of you know exactly what that means, but for those of you that don't, for me, it was the day that our nation was attacked in one of the worst attacks in history. We lost almost 4,000 innocent lives in the matter of hours. I felt like it was my calling and my duty to step up and serve my nation. And I did. I said, you know, and I guess you could say it was an easy decision because I came from a family of veterans. My father was Vietnam. My grandfather served in World War II, served in Korea, and served during Vietnam. I had various family members. So I grew up on those stories and that influence. And I called my dad and I was like, hey, man, what should I do? He was like, you know, do your part, man. And that's what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, I was a little older. I was 27 years old, which may have played well into the whole scheme of things, which we'll get into that in a minute. But I knew full well where I was going. And I guess in a way, me growing up out in West Texas was a good training because it was real deserty out there and real hot. But it was really hot in Iraq too. But as they mentioned, I'm a burn survivor. Growing up in West Texas, I get invited to hometown events similarly to this. You know, they do monuments and parades and whatnot. Well, on one of my trips that I was headed out there, I decided to get a cowboy hat. You see me having to switch seats a minute ago. The sun was baking down on me. I was worried I was blinding somebody with my bald head. So, but anyway, so I decided that I was on my way out there to West Texas that I wanted to stop and get a cowboy hat one day. I didn't even know what size my head was, so I just went in the store and I told the little girl, I said, let's start small and work our way up. Well, she did what I asked. She brought over a couple of hats. The first hat was like a child's hat, had the elastic band in it, just barely sat on the crown of my head. Well, clearly that wasn't it, right? Well, as I was pulling that one off, she had another hat in her hand like a good salesperson. She probably figured she could just size me up. Well, when she set that hat up there and popped it down as I was pulling that other one off, my ears popped off. Both my ears popped off, and they were bouncing around on the floor. See, I told you that was going to be funny, right? How many people come up here and pull their ears off for you? But needless to say, that really is a true story. And I was scrambling around to find my ears. And then I'm thinking, I went through my recovery in San Antonio. San Antonio's used to seeing veterans like me around the community missing stuff or burns and that sort of thing. Well, there I was, and I didn't even know what to say. I'm putting myself back together because I probably looked like a hot mess. And come on, hot mess, I'm a burn guy. Well, anyway, so I look up, and that little girl was just like, I didn't know what to do or say, but I said what came to mind. I was like, but that happens a lot to you, huh? She wasn't having it. And anyway, needless to say, I didn't get the hat. I was thinking maybe I need to reconsider these ears. But anyway, again, I knew where I was going. My first deployment was with the Big Red 1 out of Schweinfurt, Germany. And that one, we were mechanized. We were on tanks and Bradleys. And it taught me a lot. Taught me a lot about service, taught me a lot about sacrifice. And it made me reflect on those stories that I grew up on. And it prepared me for my second deployment with the 10th Mountain Division. Yeah, I'm going to say this ahead of time, and I don't usually do this, but, on that second deployment, there's a lot of service members that join the military. And this is a true story, and there's no argument to it. But when you sign your name on that dotted line, you're saying I'm willing to die for my country. That's the truth. Not everybody expects to go through something like this and then come back. And so, with the things that I've experienced, and this is in light of the beautiful ceremony that we just witnessed, and my friends that are in the audience, and those that have sacrificed so much, they're the heroes. I get called a hero often. I'm one story of many. But the ones that gave everything, they're our heroes. So another round of applause for our Gold Star families. Okay, now pull myself back together. So on my second deployment, with the 10th Mountain Division, we were light. We were on Humvees. And it was a little different, although it was still tactical, everything that I imagined the military would be, doing that police-style stuff. We're also focused on the humanitarian stuff. We're helping rebuild the communities. We were building schools, escorting medical teams, delivering medical supplies. I'm training police officers, training other military, so that way they could take over their own security. And it was all really rewarding, because I came from a family, and I didn't go over there to tear things up. I wanted to go over there and help. And so that second deployment was really rewarding because it just brought it full circle for me. But unfortunately, on February 19, 2007, my vehicle, a Humvee, as the third truck in the convoy, hit an IED that was estimated to be about 700 pounds of explosives buried in the road. And sometimes when I look at those photos of that Humvee, I think, how did any of us survive? But I did lose 3 friends that day. America lost 3 of her children. I was knocked unconscious. Once I woke up, I tried to call up a radio report because that's what you do, Trying to call the radio report, and I look over, and the hand mic was burnt completely off the wire. And anyway, so I threw the hand mic down. I still knew I needed to get out of the Humvee because it was on fire. As I'm trying to kick out of that Humvee, I feel this arm, and it just felt kind of funny. And my uniform was melted into my skin. Somehow I managed to get out. I want to say it was a divine moment. I'm standing there, and I'm taking in all the carnage. Well, as an NCO, I start barking orders. I'm like, hey, who's calling up the reports over there? Y'all taking care of Adam? I don't even remember what all I said, but it looked like it was just chaotic. And then all of a sudden, everybody just stopped. And they're staring at me. And I'm sure it was, a lot of it was because of the way I looked. But on the other side of that, they thought that I was dead because they'd left me in the truck to attend to my driver, which was the right thing to do. And while I was left inside the vehicle, an AT-4 cooked off and caused a secondary fireball inside that Humvee. And it burned me and injured me even more. So they were thinking, well, if he wasn't dead from that first blast, he's certainly dead now. And then there I was, standing there barking orders. Well, all of a sudden, my attention gets redirected over here to the 2 lead vehicles that had already passed the site. And one of my buddies was waving at me. He was trying to get me to come to him. I didn't know what it meant. I see his mouth moving, but everything was real muffled. And I wasn't hearing anything. My attention got redirected back over here because I could feel my leg burning. And as I looked down to see what was burning, the flames licked me in my face. My body armor was on fire. So I had to take my body armor off, get that fire put out. And then, ironically, it just happened to be my ammo pouches for maybe another divine moment that I was able to get the fire put out before I had 200-plus bullets start cooking off right here on my hip. And as I turned back around to see what my buddy wanted, he ran out there, and I didn't know it. He come around behind me and grabbed me and just started running with me. Well, as our bodies made contact, my ears popped, and I heard it. Pop and a zing! Pop and a zing! There were bullets flying all around me, and I didn't know it. And it was coming from that Humvee that I was standing beside. All of those ammo cans and all those big bullets and stuff. And there I was, completely exposed. And my friend ran out there in a hail of bullets to protect me and shield me. Now think about that for one moment. We have a current audience saturated with men and women that are willing to run towards the danger. Our first responders, thank you so very much for what you do each and every day to protect our community, protect your community. Thank you. Our firefighters, thank you. Our service members, of course, we know that each and every day, we know what they're sacrificed for. They're sacrificing for us. Thank you so much for your time in uniform. Now, they get me over there, they lay me on the ground, and we start CLS. Helicopter comes in, they get me to Baghdad, and I get induced into a coma that I spent about 48 days in. And this coma, you know, and I say it loosely, as I say about 48 days. And I say that because, yes, I think, you know, on paper, 48 days, but I was so heavily medicated, I don't really remember a day one. You know, like I wake up and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm in the hospital. It was this gradual process where they had to wean me off of this medication. And then all of a sudden, you know, I feel like I'm living life, but everything's just kind of jumbled up. So what do we do? Set landmarks. So the landmark for me, or I guess you could say the cornerstone of my recovery, was the day that they walked into my hospital room and they said, Sergeant Harris, today we want you to take 10 steps. And I was thinking, 10 steps? I was like, man, I do 25-mile ruck marches. I'm going to own this hospital. You know, I was all cocky. I was confident. Just getting out of bed was excruciating. I had 3 little shuffles, and I was completely exhausted. When I laid back down in that bed, I realized what I was faced with, and I kind of crippled myself because I started thinking negative thoughts. You're like, I can't do this. I won't do this. Don't want to do it. And then one day, my dad came in. He's standing there at the foot of my bed. He's just got his arms crossed, just staring at me. And my mom, she had already been in that morning. I don't know if they had this planned or not, but you know, I went through this pity party for like 3 or 4 days, and I just wasn't willing to do the work. And there what my dad was, just standing there staring at me. We all know what that means. There's a message in there. And he drug it out long enough where it was uncomfortable enough where I finally said, okay, well, what is it? He drug it out a little longer, and then finally he said, are you done, soldier? I was like, excuse me, sir? Are you done, soldier? No, sir, I am not. Then get up out of that bed and start doing the work that you know you need to do. And I did. Now, I want you all to keep that in mind. When you think that you can't go anymore, when you think that you can't give anymore, just remember, it's there. You just got to be willing to tap into it. I turned those 3 little shuffles into 10 steps, 20 steps, 50 steps, and then before long I snuck down to Burger King in the basement. There's a lot of things you think about when you're deployed, and one of them is definitely food. We'll leave the rest to the imagination. You know, I said earlier, you know, that Mason's kind of a second home for me. I feel truly honored to be here today to share this with you. This rededication ceremony isn't just about monuments and honoring, you know, the veterans. This is a place to remember. This is the city of Mason recommitting and rededicating their time to welcoming veterans home. I am so truly blessed and honored to be able to share this day with you, and I can't thank you enough for the invite to be here among my family and friends. God bless you all.
For my sake, can we applaud again for Shiloh? You know, words fail. Thank you. I hope it carries more than the syllables it's said with. I can't add much to that, but for the sake of the program, would like to introduce Dr. Lucy Gunther with the Mason Symphony Orchestra. She's the founder and music director of the Mason Symphony Orchestra, and the city has had an opportunity to partner with them throughout 2023 to provide orchestral concerts for the community to enjoy. The city is grateful for our partnership and the opportunity it has provided to enhance the arts and quality of life in Mason. Symphony members will be playing a special piece in honor of today's event. And I know they've been teasing several speakers, but during the performance, a patriotic flag jump by Team Fast Tracks will take place over the memorial. Dr. Gunther, would you join me up here?
Well, I was all settled and prepared, but I got to tell you, as anyone knows here who's had a gun salute over the grave of somebody you love, take me a minute. We gather today to honor and remember the brave men and women who have served in uniform and made the supreme sacrifice to keep us safe and to make possible our quality of life. The Mason Symphony Brass and Percussion are here today to honor the veterans with us in the audience, on the stage, and in the air. Those of you, a lot of people around here know their airplanes. The Warbirds are World War II, and we have with us flying overhead World War I replica Newport biplanes flown by Navy and Air Force veterans. We will perform the Armed Forces Salute and ask that members of each branch of service stand to be recognized and to honor those who've come before. And the song of each branch of service will be announced by Councilman Stricula.
While Dr. Gunther makes her way to the symphony, a couple of notes. We want to make sure and thank the Mason Kiwanis, partnering with the city to host Mason veterans. Today was their annual pancake breakfast held this morning, and we were able to host veterans there on behalf of the city at that event. So I wanted to thank them for partnering. The mayor wants to make sure you can still get pancakes, sausage, biscuits, and gravy if you get there by 1 p.m. I think she has some tickets for you. City was also pleased to honor local veterans with free admission to our community center and golf center. And finally, would like to encourage everyone to attend the Mason Symphony Orchestra's Christmas Festival event, which will be held at Great Wolf Lodge, 4 p.m. on December 3rd. Ticket info is at their website, masonsymphonyorchestra.org. Councilmember Stricula, if you'll come to the podium.
We're going to start with the best branch of the military, the United States Army. United States Coast Guard. United States Marine Corps. United States Air Force. United States Navy.
Would you please stand, please? Let us bow heads in a word of prayer. Dear Lord, today we have honored our veterans, worthy men and women who gave their best when they were called upon to serve and protect their country. We pray that you will bless them for their unselfish service and continued struggle to preserve our freedoms, our safety, and our country's heritage for all of us. Bless them abundantly for the hardships they face, for their many different contributions to America's victories over tyranny and oppression. We respect them, we thank them, we honor them, and we are proud of them. We pray that you will watch over these special people and bless them with peace and honor. Now may the strength of God sustain us. May the power of God preserve us, and may the hand of God protect us, and may the way of God direct us, and may the shield of God protect us and defend us always. Amen.
Sergeant at Arms, please retrieve the colors.
Please take your seats. I have a couple of last items. I call them thank yous, reminders, and some next steps. There's a army, no pun intended, of folks that were involved in making today the memorial and the legacy of the memorial success. I do want to pause and take some time to thank them. We've introduced Mason City Council, as well as the Mason Veteran Board of Affairs. You were able to meet Rick Armstrong, as well as Shiloh Harris. We have our friends at the VFW, as well as the American Legion. Our vocalist, Stormy Steinhauer, Marcia Gales, and Dr. Charles Daniels. Dr. Lucy Gunther, and the Mason Symphony Orchestra. We were able to enjoy from Team Fast Tracks, the flag jump. Also want to thank Jim Smith with Laser Imaging for his work on the memorial. Steve Lichtenberg, crews from Lichtenberg Landscaping. Concrete Recovery, Connor Ford and his crews. ESI Electrical with Jim Burrows. And then I would like to pause and thank some particular city staff, Chief Ron Farrell, Veronica Hazelwood, Steve Cadell, Jenna Pantling, and Jennifer Heft. All of them have put forth effort, significant effort, to try and make this, as I said, both a legacy as well as a special event today. Please give them another round of applause. Before we close, just a reminder that over here to the right, we will have a brief ribbon cutting ceremony and some photographs. We ask everyone to be patient with us as we pause here to We'd like to get a large group photo here at the end, so if you'd stay seated. Two other reminders. We do have a Mason Veterans Memorial app to help folks locate, both to introduce them to the memorial and significantly to locate where their bricks are. The App Store is still sitting on that to get that approved, so it's not functioning yet, but we will have city staff over here. If any of you are interested in locating a brick of you or a loved one, they can provide assistance by, they have the data there and we'll help you locate it. Also want to encourage everyone in attendance to pick up a commemorative coin. They're available in this tent with the, not where the orchestra is, but the one with the orchestra banner. Both a coin in honor of today's event, as well as a brochure on veterans programs. They're offered by the City of Mason, as well as programs including the military street banner and yard sign program. Those are all available at the tent, and I think there may be some refreshments left, I'm not sure. I think with that, I'd like to ask everyone seated up here. What we'd like to do is ask you to come down in front so the photographer can come up here, and we'd like to try and get a group photograph. So if the speakers will stand up here in the middle, if folks that are in the wings can kind of group into the back. Again, like I mentioned for the legacy here, we'd like to have a photograph of everyone that attended this rededication. So for everyone in the stand, would excuse yourselves to sit up here. Some of you.
So, but while we're doing that, I wanted to say, I forgot to mention this because I've been hearing about it for a week. Does everybody know that yesterday was the Marine Corps' birthday? Oh my gosh, I've been hearing about it. Happy birthday, Marine Corps.
Following this, we'll have the ribbon cutting, some photographs there. After that, the memorial will be open for everyone to reflect upon the sacrifices that men and women throughout our nation's history have made to protect our freedoms. Thank you once again, especially the veterans, active military members who have joined us this morning. Thank you, as I said, few small words for the great sentiment. We honor you today and every day. Thank you for all of us for joining this event. We do anticipate in a few minutes a flyover by the Tri-State Warbirds at about 12:30.
Okay, everyone, squeeze in as tight as you can and say a little prayer.
If we could ask council or speakers to move over here. I was reminded of one other legacy piece I forgot to mention. Young Stormy Steinhauer, who sang the national anthem. His father is also here, Stormy Steinhauer Sr., who sang the national anthem 20 years ago. So another round of applause for the Steinhauers.